Hello, I'm Dave and this is Logan, out once again for a walk in the countryside. Thanks for joining us. Now today we're at the pretty village of Wimborne St Giles in Dorset. It's situated about 7 miles north of Wimborne Minster and 12 miles north of Poole. And we're going to be walking a roughly 5-mile circular route, starting with a quick look through the village, and then we'll be following the course of the River Allen northwest along the Jubilee Trail to the little hamlet of Monkton Up Wimborne. And then we'll head southwards to Tenantry Down, past a deserted village, and finally along the Hardy Way back to the village. And I'm sure there'll be lots of interesting things to see along the way, and hopefully we'll find the source of the River Allen. Now, as you can see, we're well wrapped up. I'm filming at the beginning of February. It is a bitterly cold day, but the sun is out and there's plenty of blue sky, so it should be perfect conditions for walking. So do come along with us. Okay, well, we'll start the walk off with a little tour through the village. We'll start on the sort of southern side, just behind me here, the Bull Inn. Now, I'm not too sure of its history, other than it appears on a 1901 map. It looks as though it's closed. I'm not 100% sure. It might be up for sale. I'm not sure. Just crossing over the bridge over the River Allen, which is in full flow this morning after all the recent rain. It was originally called the River Wimborne. It's about 14 miles long and its source isn't too far away at White Farm. We're hopefully going to see if we can find that later on in the walk. Anyway, the river flows to Wimborne in the south, where it joins the River Stour and goes out to sea at Christchurch. Wow, what a gorgeous building. This is the old mill house, which has origins from the first half of the 17th century. I think it was a paper mill in the past. And I was reading that at one stage it was a pub in the 19th century. And then just in front of it is the lovely old stocks, which I think date back to the 18th century. And well, certainly the wood looks very old. That's where you'll be put if you don't behave yourself in the walk, Logan. And this is the Church of St Giles and All Hallows. Now, there was a church at All Hallows just up the road from here, mentioned in the Domesday Book, and it existed until 1742, and it was the principal church in the area. Until then, there was just a small chapel here. There had been a church building here since the 13th century at least. In 1651, Sir Anthony Ashley Cooper, the first Earl of Shaftesbury, built St Giles House to the east of here. And in 1672, he asked King Charles II if he could close down the All Hallows Church up the road and make this one into the main church. Well, the request was granted, and although the first Earl died in 1683, the church here was rebuilt between 1732 and 1742. And as I said, the All Hallows Church up the road was demolished 1742. Initially, it was just a nave and tower that was built here, and it was remodelled in 1852 and 1887, and then enlarged considerably following a major fire in 1908. So today it consists of a nave, chancel, a west tower incorporating a porch, a north and a very narrow south aisle, a vestry and a south porch. I think it's got 8 bells. Let's have a look inside. Well, folks, this is going to be a challenge because not only can I not find the lights, but the sun is behind some trees, so it's very, very dark in here. But there's some fascinating things to see in here, but I'm going to have to probably put up some photographs instead, but we'll see how this comes out on the GoPro. Now, let's make our way towards the altar. Oh dear. Well, there is as you can see, a sort of screen in front of me, but it looks as though it's locked, so this is about as near as I'm going to be able to get. But just on the right hand side of the altar there, you see there's a plaque with a robin on top. And apparently the story goes that these robins built their nests when the church was roofless, undergoing restoration in 1887, and again after the 1908 fire. Apparently the nests have been embedded in the walls of the building. Just poking through here. Bit embarrassing. I'm sure there is a key that I could get through, but I might have to put some photographs up from the net. But this is the memorial to Sir Anthony Ashley, who died in 1628. He was Secretary of War for the capture of Cadiz in 1596 under Queen Elizabeth I. And he's actually been credited with the introduction of the cabbage to England. I see there's a little round object down by his feet. I wonder if that's supposed to represent a cabbage. I don't know. And the little girl by his side is his daughter Anne, who went on to be the mother of Sir Anthony Ashley Cooper, the first Earl of Shaftesbury. And there are some tremendous stained glass windows here, many of them fitted by Sir Ninian Comper after the great fire that was here. Apparently they had the signature of a strawberry leaf. And they're very difficult to find, but I think I spotted one on the bottom right-hand corner. What a magnificent church. And just to the side of the church are the old almshouses built in 1624 by Sir Anthony Ashley, the grandfather of Sir Anthony Ashley Cooper, the first Earl of Shaftesbury. And they were originally 10 one-bedroomed apartments with just the one common room built for obviously the poor and the needy of the parish. Well, there's a lovely house just behind me here. Looks like it's the old schoolhouse. Of course, the village is probably famous mostly for St Giles House, built in 1651. Not going to be able to see that because that's on private land, but Fiver and I did a Canicross trail race there back end of last year, and we did a video there and had a look at the house and some of its history. So if you haven't seen that, do check it out because it's got a fascinating story attached to it. It really is a pretty little village. It lies on the Shaftesbury estate, which is owned by the Earl of Shaftesbury, and it's recorded in the Domesday Book. The name Wimborne comes from win and burner, who's Old English for stream running through a meadow. And St Giles was an 8th century hermit from southeast France. More of him later. But in 1733, the parish merged with a little settlement at All Hallows. What a magnificent village sign. That's Wimborne St Giles. Now, legend has it that King Wamba, apparently he was king of the Visigoths in South Gaul between 672 and 680. He was out hunting in a forest in the south of France when he chased a hind that either went into a thicket or a cave. And the story goes that the king shot an arrow but ended up hitting Giles, the hermit, who was protecting the hind. Anyway, Giles went on to become a patron saint of the physical disabled. And just look at the sign here, it's very similar to a painting called St Giles and the Hind from around about 1500. And it shows him shot in the hand. Also, some stories say it actually got him in the leg. Well, now I'm going to start heading sort of westwards out of the village. There's the old village hall. I think there's a little post office behind it. Some quite alluring cottages. Look at this thatched one here, or a row of them. Isn't that beautiful? Oh, what a lovely idea. Sort of a converted beehive into a little hotel for critters. Wow, it looks like it's going to be a cracking year for snowdrops. Along the bank everywhere. Beautiful. little pit stop to take in the views. Oh, it's quite stunning today. Super day to be out in the countryside. So just before we join the Jubilee Trail, I'm going to do a little bit of a diversion to the south to the little settlement of All Hallows. There's something I want to show you there. Just in front of me you can see the River Allen, and but looking at the map it looks as though there are a number of watercress beds along this stretch of the river. Obviously ideal conditions for growing it. Well, I've done that little detour southwards just to have a look at this quite enchanting churchyard at All Hallows. And it really is quite pretty. Now, according to a 1901 map, All Hallows Church was situated, I think, on the northern side of the road, but it was demolished in 1742. And the Lichgate and churchyard, though, they're still here on the southern side. And there's a quite gorgeous display of snowdrops. What a fantastic time of year to come and look. Well, I think it was worth doing that little detour. Okay, we're back on the main route now. Join the Jubilee Trail, which is that 90-mile long distance path that goes from Ford Abbey in Somerset all the way to Bockley Dyke on the Dorset Hampshire border. It was established in 1995 to celebrate the 60th anniversary of the Ramblers Association. So it's a lovely part of the route here. We're on, as I say, this footpath looking down, and there's the River Allen in full flow down by the road there. Well, this is about as far northwest as we're going on the walk. We're a little settlement called Monkton Up Wimborne. And just by me here, Manor Farm, which I believe parts of it date back to the 16th century. And if you look on a 1901 map, there was once a chapel just built to the south of it. And I believe it was called St Andrew's, but it was all demolished in 1742. Well, it's got a little bit dark. The clouds have appeared. Hopefully we're going to be okay for the rest of the walk. Well, about 200 or 300 yards further west from that farm, there's a little field. And if you look at a 1901 map, even a map from the 1960s, it shows that there was a church once here called All Saints. But there's nothing here now. Now, I've been trying to find information about it, but I couldn't find anything during my research. I wondered whether, the church might have been something to do with Gussage All Saints to the south, which has got its own church, the parish church of All Saints, but that dates from the 14th century. Well, part of the fun of doing these walks is digging deep into the history of these places and doing the research. I was determined to see if I could find out what happened to this church. I contacted the local parish council at Wimborne St Giles. They weren't 100% sure, but they pointed me in the direction of a chap called Alan Dedden of the East Dorset Antiquarian Society. And he advised me that there was indeed a church here called the Tin Church, or the Tin Chapel, because it was built using corrugated iron, and it was dedicated on the 2nd of March 1889, originally dedicated as All Saints, but at some point it became known as the Good Shepherd, and it was desolate by, well, 1974 at least, but I'm not sure when it was demolished or taken down. So that solves that little mystery. One more thing to look at before we head south. I'm going to continue along this road to see if I can find the source of the River Allen, although I see that there's a road closed sign which might be ominous. Well folks, this is as far as we're going to go. But the source of the River Allen, I believe, is, well, just about where that telegraph pole is. Well, that's normally where the first bit of water comes out. There are a number of different springs around here, but if you look at say a map of the 1960s, the blue line kind of finishes about here, and in fact there's a well just to the left at White Farm. But there you go, another source has been ticked off. Ah, the sun's come out again. Well, that's all our detours over. So I'm back at Monkton Up Wimborne. Now I'm going to head southwards towards Tenantry Down, crossing over the River Allen, and I'm going to keep my eyes peeled for some boundary stones. An uphill bit. This is our first sort of decent long walk in the countryside this winter, so I'm a little out of practice, although I don't know, I've been doing a few canicross trail races with Fiver. I mentioned earlier I did one at Wimborne St Giles and I videoed that. We did another one in November quite near Corfe Castle at night in driving rain. It was interesting. And we've got a few to do before the summer comes and it gets too hot. Now, boundary stones, yeah, a bit disappointing. According to an old map, and indeed a current Ordnance Survey map, there should have been some boundary stones back by the bridge over the river. Couldn't see them. But there's some more opportunities coming up. We've just got to get to the top of the ridge first. Well, we've made it to the top of the ridge and it was certainly worth the effort because the views from up here, they really are quite stunning. I mean, just look behind me here. Isn't that wonderful? There's loads of hares out there. I saw a gigantic one not that long ago. And then, well, just on my right here, there should be a boundary stone, allegedly. We're usually quite good at finding them, but a blank today so far. Oh, this really is your typical rolling Dorset landscape. It really is quite beautiful. We're just walking along this bridleway. A lovely place to come for a canter. Oh, I wish I had my old horse. Would have loved it up here. Some more cracking views. This is, well, I'm just at the edge of Brockington Down looking over to the east. Now, this probably won't show on the GoPro. I can just about make out top of a church. I reckon that's Knowlton Church. I'll see if I can get my Canon out and see if I can get a zoom photo, but it might be a bit hazy. Of course, Knowlton Church, we've done a walk there in the past. You haven't seen that, do check that one out. It's a fascinating place to visit. And then just over on the right, on the brow of the horizon, I know it's very hazy and I'm pointing towards the sun, but pretty sure that's the outline of Horton Tower. Again, I'll see if I can get a zoom picture. Again, it will be very hazy. Well, a little update on the route. So we're just coming off Brockington Down, and we're now going to follow this little quiet road towards Knowlton Church, but we won't be going as far as the church. At some stage we'll be heading onto the Hardy Way. Well, this is the little road that we've come down on the other side of that hedge, and I'm on the outskirts of Brockington Farm. Now, just in front of me here in these fields was the location of what was once a deserted village. Dorset, of course, well known for having many deserted villages throughout the county. Some of them, well, as a result of plagues. Others, it's just a case of work or employment moved elsewhere. And there's certainly no evidence or remains left of this one here. Well, we're very much on the homeward leg now, heading back towards Wimborne St Giles. And we're on the Hardy Way now, which is that 220-mile long distance path that links places and locations that had a connection with the writer and poet Thomas Hardy. And it starts at Lower Bockhampton, where he was born, and finishes at Stinsford Churchyard, where his heart is buried. Well, what a way to finish the walk. What a splendid oak tree that is. Magnificent specimen. A real beaut. Well, folks, we've come to the end of our walk. We hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please do give us a thumbs up and a like, and do leave a comment. And do check out our Facebook page, Dave's Countryside Walks. It's been a really great, fresh winter's walk today. Really have enjoyed it. We're actually going to head off home. We need to get back in time for the rugby and some bacon sandwiches. So until we meet again, thanks for watching, and cheerio. Who's going to win?